It is Election Day 2020, and voters are continuing to head to the polls tonight. News Channel 11 is your local election headquarters.
Tonight, we have live team coverage from all around Northeast Tennessee and Southwest Virginia.
And we welcome you into News Channel 11 at 5. I'm Josh Smith.
I'm Sarah Diamond. There has been steady voter turnout since early today, following record numbers of ballots cast in early voting. During Tennessee's early voting period from October 14th to the 29th, more than 2.2 million people in the state cast their ballot. That accounts for 51% of all registered voters in Tennessee.
We are hearing about some long lines at some polling places around our region on this election day, and we begin our live team coverage in Jonesboro, Tennessee, where Ansley Daniel has more.
Josh and Sarah, the lines have not been too long here at the Jonesboro Visitor Center for Election Day. However, they do tell me that earlier this morning there was a long line. Now, the past 2 hours, there has just been a really steady flow here at the Visitor Center in Jonesboro. And the election officer for this location tells me that they do expect lines to pick up within the next few hours as people do get off for work. Workers here say that they think record early voting numbers had an impact on today's turnout.
I worked early voting, and we voted probably at least a third of the people that was registered for this precinct. So yeah, it definitely impacted it.
No voter will be turned away tonight as polls close at 8 p.m. no matter how long the line is. So as long as you are in line by 8 p.m., you are guaranteed an opportunity to vote. Live in Jonesboro, Ansley Daniel, News Channel 11.
Ansley, thanks. So one of the most anticipated races in our region tonight will decide who wins Tennessee's first district seat in the U.S. House of Representatives.
After all this months of talking, now a decision. The top candidates, Republican nominee Diana HARSHBARGER and Democratic nominee BLAIR Walsingham. The winner will replace retiring Congressman Dr. Phil Rowe.
Our team coverage takes us now to Sullivan County, where Febin Cassahoon joins us live from the Kingsport Civic Auditorium with more on this race and on voter turnout there. Febin?
Sarah and Josh, good evening. Now you can see behind me, voters are still coming up here to cast their ballots. Now just over 3 hours left of voting hours here in Sullivan County. Now earlier today I spoke with Democratic congressional candidate BLAIR Walsingham, who was here with her campaign hoping to connect with voters. Now earlier today the Hawkins County resident was also seen holding up signs with her daughter. Now in her campaign, Walsingham built sort of a grassroots movement to woo her voters. Now the Air Force veteran is following the ideologies of former Democratic presidential candidate Andrew Yang. I spoke with Walsingham earlier, who told me that she was honored to be here today as the nominee.
The utmost experience of my lifetime to be given the opportunity to represent the people in this district, and with all my heart I can honestly say I would love to represent every single person here and fight for our communities, and given the opportunity to do that, I know that nobody here would be disappointed.
Now, according to Administrator of Elections Jason Boer, Sullivan County has already seen record voter turnout in this election. Now, this year, about 55,000 early voters cast their ballots in the 2016 election. He says that there were just over 45,000 early votes, and that a total of 66% of registered voters cast their ballots for that year. Now, a reminder, if you are in line this evening at 8 p.m., you still will have the opportunity to cast your ballots. Now, we're going to send it over to Kelly Grossfield, who continues our team coverage with Walsingham's opponent.
Febin, thank you. It was also a busy day for Diana HARSHBARGER as she too made that final push among voters. She was also at the Civic Auditorium in Kingsport earlier today. As we saw those lines kind of dwindle down, we still saw a consistent amount of people going to the polls. She says she's been up since 7 this morning and she's been meeting with voters and people all over. These final hours are crucial for the congressional candidate since there's only so much time left before the polls close. Now, I spoke with her earlier when she was outside the Civic Center, and she said she won't stop campaigning until those polls are closed.
In my view, this is the most important election of our lifetime, and I've said it over and over. The future of our country is at stake, and I'm not taking anything for granted, and I'll keep going until the polls close at 8 o'clock tonight.
I'll be following the Harshbarger campaign very closely. You can follow me on Twitter for the latest updates, and you can follow our hashtag WJHL Votes. Reporting live in Kingsport, Kelly Grossfield, News Channel 11.
All right, Kelly, thank you very much. Now, a Tennessee seat in the United States Senate is also up for grabs tonight as longtime United States Senator Lamar Alexander, the former Tennessee governor, announced that he's now retiring at the end of his term in the Senate.
Republican nominee Bill Hagerty was endorsed by President Donald Trump even before Hagerty officially announced his candidacy. Democratic nominee Marquita Bradshaw recently received an endorsement from Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden.
Bill Hagerty made a stop at the News Channel 11 studio today as part of his final push for votes across Northeast Tennessee. He told us he is focused on turning around the American economy as we move through the pandemic, he said suffered tremendously during the past few months.
I'm confident that America can rebound faster than other economies, faster than Europe, faster than Japan, faster than China. And Tennessee can be at the forefront of that recovery.
Hagerty is considered by many as the overwhelming favorite to defeat Democratic candidate Marquita Bradshaw, but at an event yesterday in Nashville, Bradshaw dismissed her underdog status as a Democrat, or that she, as a Democrat, embraces socialist ideas.
To put me in a box, to label me, is a misrepresentation. I am American.
Bill Hagerty will be in Williamson County tonight waiting for election results there. Marquita Bradshaw will be in Memphis. Well, voters are heading to the polls in record numbers across the state line in Virginia as well.
Yeah, that's right, because in addition to the presidential race, the Senate race in Virginia, voters are also casting ballots in some high-profile referendum issues. Kaylin Clark's continuing team coverage for us at 5 o'clock. She's outside City Hall in Bristol, Virginia.
Hey Josh, well there's really not any line here right now outside of City Hall here in Bristol, Virginia. I'm told on average in the city it's only taking about 5 to 10 minutes in line to vote, but do not let the short lines fool you. They are actually seeing record-breaking voter turnout this year. Now in a normal presidential year, Director of Elections Penny Lindbergh tells me they normally see about 60% turnout total. She says they hit 60% turnout around 2:30 p.m. today. And I'll remind you, polls close at 7 in Virginia, so there still could be plenty more voters to come. Bristol, Virginia has a little over 11,700 registered voters. Lindbergh said in 2016 they had 7,000 people vote total. Again, that should easily surpass that amount this year. Of course, many people are excited to vote in the presidential race. But Bristol, Virginia also has a very unique item on the ballot right now, a referendum on whether or not to allow casino gambling. Hard Rock wants to build a massive casino and resort on the site of the former Bristol Mall. But that can only happen if the majority of voters say yes in the casino referendum question that is on the back of their ballots. Now tonight at 6, I will have more for you from city and business leaders on their final vote, or their final push exactly, urging voters to say yes in the casino referendum as this election reaches its final hours. But for now, live in Bristol, Kaylin Cluck, News Channel 11.
All right, Kaylin, thank you very much. Now, in a lot of races across the country today, voters are standing in very long lines to make their voices heard.
Yeah, their votes will be added to the roughly 100 million early votes. President Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden have used the day to make their final push to rally their supporters. Skylar Henry reports.
President Trump visited his campaign headquarters in Arlington, Virginia, to thank the staffers who helped run his re-election campaign. Without citing evidence, he said allowing states to continue counting votes past Election Day is dangerous.
You have to have a date, and the date happens to be November 3rd, and we should be entitled to know who won on November 3rd.
Overnight, the president returned to the White House after holding 5 rallies in 4 battleground states. He's promised the crowds from his rallies will show up to the polls on Election Day like a red wave. Vice President Biden spent the morning in Scranton, Pennsylvania, to visit his childhood home with his 2 granddaughters. Inside, he signed a wall with the words, "From this house to the White House, with the grace of God." Last night, he made a final pitch to voters in the battleground state.
The vast majority of Americans are done with the chaos, the corruption, the failure.
From Connecticut to California, polls are now open across the country.
I think everybody needs to get out and vote, make it happen.
This is a very important election.
it's going to change the history of our country.
Here in Alexandria, Virginia, and in polling locations across the country, election officials are working to prioritize the health and safety of voters with coronavirus protocols, including signage encouraging social distancing, mask wearing, and plexiglass partitions. It's unclear if a winner will be declared tonight, as some states could take days to count all the ballots. Skyler Henry, CBS News, Alexandria, Virginia.
Early election results are expected to start rolling in shortly after 7 o'clock Eastern Time.
Yeah, that's the plan at this point.
Right.
We'll see what happens. President Trump plans to spend election night at the White House. Former Vice President Joe Biden will be in his home of Wilmington, Delaware.
Well, you still have time to go cast your vote. Polls close at 8 o'clock in Tennessee, 7 o'clock in Virginia. Remember to bring your photo ID. If you are in line at the time polls close, you will be allowed to vote.
And when the polls close, when those final votes are cast, News Channel 11 will be your local election headquarters. Here's the plan. Network news coverage from CBS begins at 7 p.m. and then we're going to have live local updates every half hour. And we'll be live streaming local results nonstop on WJHL.com starting at 8 o'clock tonight.